What is up, guys? Today we are doing a rest day review. If you don't know what that is, basically on my rest days I look back at one of my workouts from the week and I do a little breakdown and a commentary, just kind of describing what I did for the workout. So this was a chest and shoulder day. I wanted to do flat bench, but it was taken, so what we ended up doing was the Smith machine on incline, and then I ended up doing a machine press later in exchange for that flat bench. But when you're doing the incline Smith machine, a couple things you want to look out for. I like to make sure that the bar is touching my lower chest, and my main focus on this movement is making sure that I come all the way down. Controlled, you don't want to slam the bar into your chest when you're coming down because that can hurt and you can injure yourself. So make sure you're controlling that, especially on this set I'm doing 2 plates on each side, so it's a decent amount of weight. And if you just let that bar come slamming down and bouncing off, I've seen many people do that in the gym. That is a great way to hurt yourself. So even if it's super hard, control that weight. Don't just let it bounce off of your chest. Make sure you're tapping your chest lightly. You can even do a pause rep if you would prefer to do it that way. That's actually how I used to practice doing my bench. So if you are interested in learning this movement and you haven't done it before, I would say practice those pause reps, bring them all the way down so you're comfortable with your bar path. Make sure it's hitting your lower chest and it feels comfortable, and then let it sit there for a second and then go up. Here I'm not doing that, I'm doing a tap and then I'm going up, but you can still see I'm controlling it coming down. I'm not just bouncing it off of my chest. So that's what I would pay attention to when I'm doing this movement. You can see we did 2 sets to failure there. That's typically how I like to structure my sets. I did a couple of warm-up sets and then I did 2 all-out sets to failure where I couldn't do another rep, or I was very close to not being able to do another rep. So next is another chest press machine. This is what I was saying I substituted for the flat bench. It's not like a flat bar path, but I don't think it would be an incline either. It's not that much of an inclined push, so it's kind of somewhere in between. So I just say that this was my flat variant for the day. I could have done dumbbells as well, but it was crowded over there, so I just stuck to this machine. I had a good spot and I set it up that way. But same idea. I was already warmed up, so I might have done 1 warm-up set and then I did 2 working sets. That's typically how I structure it. Let's see here. Did I actually do that first warm-up set? Okay, so it looks like I did do the first warm-up set, and then that was my first working set, and then this is my second working set here. But same idea. Just bring it down slow and controlled. You don't want to let that weight just come crashing down. Great way to hurt yourself. Just control it going down, then explode up, and that's what I typically like to do, the 2 working sets. But if you wanted to do 2 working sets and then a back off set to failure, so effectively 3 working sets, you could do that as well. It's up to you based off your preference, how you like to train. I kind of like to just do 2 heavy sets per movement and just get it out the way. Next we're going to do some pec deck flies here, which is our 3rd chest movement, and if you count, we are doing 2 working sets per, so that's 6 working sets for this workout. So we do that twice a week. That is 12 working sets, and I'm pretty happy with 12 working sets on any muscle group per week. So if I'm in between the 10 to 20 range, that's usually the sweet spot. I have been looking back at some of my training and realizing that I'm not there for everything, so I do need to change that, but at least for chest, it seems like we're pretty good. So the main mistake that I see people make on this movement is that they do not let their arms straighten out when they are bringing them together. You can bend your elbows here. You see my elbows are bent when I'm bringing it back. That's completely fine if that's more comfortable. But when you do bring your hands together at the end of the movement, you want to be pushing those handles as far away from you as you can and squeezing them together as tightly as you can. I typically like to set the seat up so my chest is above where my hands are going to be, so my hands are slightly angled downwards, and I like to puff up my chest with a slight arch, pushing back into my upper back into the seats behind me, so I have a stable platform to push off of. Now here we're doing some rear pec deck flies, which is nice because we just flip around and we can use the same machine. This is hitting our rear delts, so we're transitioning into the shoulder workouts. But this is to hit the back part of your shoulder. The same idea applies here. I like to push my hands away from me when I'm bringing them out, and I like to bring them as far back as I can comfortably. Some people are less flexible than others. I have some friends that can go almost all the way so their hands are touching behind their back, but I can't do that. So just bring it as far as you can comfortably bring it, and then go ahead and slowly control it coming back. Like that first rep right there was a perfect example of that. And a good rule, if this is your first time doing a movement in any situation, the rear shoulder flies, for example, start with a low weight, something that you can do 15 to 20 reps of comfortably. And just really focus maybe the first 2 sets that you do, if not even the first day or first 2 days. Just focus on practicing that form, have someone take a video of you, or just see if you can watch yourself in a mirror, and just try to make sure that your form is looking good, it's consistent. You want to build up good structure, you want to build up good habits when you're doing when you're learning a new movement. That way when you're going up in weight, you don't have bad form and you don't end up hurting yourself just because you've been doing it that way the whole time. I see people bench heavy weight, shoulder press heavy weight, and they have their this horrible form, and I can tell that it's just an accident waiting to happen. And my form isn't perfect, but I do try to pay attention to my form, and I try to be mindful of every workout when I'm doing it, just to make sure that I am doing it to the best of my ability. So if I were to make a recommendation, that would be it. Just practice your form, make sure you're doing it properly, make sure you're actually hitting the muscle that you're trying to hit. So these are single arm cable lateral raises. These are a nice alternative to doing them with the dumbbells because you can do one arm at a time. As you see here, I'm focusing on just the right arm right now, doing that side delt, and then I flip and I do the left, and we just go back and forth doing one at a time. If you struggle with your form on the dumbbell lateral raise, I would definitely recommend trying this. It takes away a lot of the thought. It's a more stable movement, and you can practice, I feel like, a lot easier without feeling like you're looking as goofy. But I am using a wrist wrap here. You can see it's actually attached to my wrist, but if you just use one of those D handles, it'll work just as well. Just find something that feels comfortable to you and focus on keeping your arm straight, and imagine you were pushing out and away from you, trying to make the biggest arc with your arm as you can, and bring it up so it is parallel with your shoulders. And if you can go a little bit higher than that, that's fine. Go as high as you can. But I typically just take it there, and that's where I feel like I'm reaching my peak contraction, and then I bring it back down. So see what works best for you. Try doing it for a while. That's also important when you're switching between exercises. You can't just do an exercise once and just not see results right away and think, oh, this exercise isn't for me. If it feels good, if it feels like it's something that you can learn and you're enjoying the movement, do it for a while. Keep it in your program for a couple months and see if you're seeing the growth that you want, and make sure that it is due to the movement, not due to the effort. So make sure you're putting in maximum effort every time you do it, and if you're just not seeing the results that you want, then at that point you can look for an alternative and sub that in, and then try that for a couple months and see how that works. But yeah, that was our chest and shoulder workout. You'll notice we didn't do a shoulder pressing movement, and that's because we did a lot of pressing on chest. Typically the front delt is the most overdeveloped part of the deltoid. So if you do a lot of pressing movements already, that should typically take care of that, and you don't really have to focus it. So when I do a chest and shoulder day, I don't have a focused shoulder press. But if it was a back and shoulder day and I wasn't doing any pressing other than that, I would have done a shoulder press. Anyways, I have ran out of clips. That's just me talking and rambling in the background. So if you watch this, thank you for watching. I do a video every day, so feel free to subscribe. This is YouTube. Like and all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.